I used to count the days to my birthday. As a kid, I'd imagine balloons, cake, maybe a small surprise or two. But by the time I turned 11, birthdays just became a countdown to the next year of servitude. I'm 17 now, and in exactly 2 weeks, I'll be free. At least, that's what I tell myself when I'm lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling while my mother sleeps in the next room, completely oblivious to how much I hate her. My name is Leah. I live with my mother and her 10-year-old daughter, Ava. I call her that. Ava. Not my sister. Not even my half-sister. Just Ava. Because to call her my sister would mean acknowledging that we share something sacred. And we don't. She was born out of betrayal. My mom cheated on my dad with a man she barely knew and got pregnant while they were still married. When my dad found out, he was shattered, but instead of cutting ties completely, he fought. He tried to keep me. He tried to keep us a family. But the court believed her lies. She dragged up things about his past, struggles he had before I was even born. And the judge gave her full custody. Just like that. My dad didn't stop trying. He paid child support, more than the court demanded, but nearly all of it went to Ava. My clothes? Thrift store rags. My shoes? Always worn out before I got a new pair. Ava? She had everything. New clothes. Special food. Expensive medical equipment. Even the biggest room in the house. Because Ava needs it, my mom says. Because Ava is delicate. Because Ava is a blessing. To me, Ava is the reason I stopped playing piano. She's the reason I quit basketball. She's the reason my friends stopped inviting me anywhere, because I could never go. There was always something Ava needed more. Always some emergency. Always some mess I had to clean up. I became her caretaker. Her nurse. Her shadow. I never asked for it. No one asked me. I just became it. And it made me bitter. I hated myself for it at first. But now, I just hate them. My mother, she acts like I'm selfish when I ask for time alone. She says things like, I thought you cared about your family, or you think your father would have handled things better? And when I try to stand up for myself, I'm met with guilt and manipulation. So, I started lying. 3 months ago, I told her I needed extra hours at school to prepare for college. She didn't even question it. In fact, she looked relieved, like she finally had a break from dealing with me. What she didn't know, and still doesn't, is that I've been going to my best friend Tessa's house after school. Her parents know everything. They feed me. They ask about my day. They even help me practice piano again. And then there's my dad. He lives almost an hour away. And even though he lost me to the system, he never gave up on me. Every time I've needed him, he's shown up quietly, without fanfare, but always there. He's the one helping me escape. We've planned everything. I've been accepted into a college near him. He's paying for it. He found me a therapist. He even got his best friend to store all my belongings so my mom wouldn't sell them for Ava's needs. I've packed the most important stuff, hidden it at Tessa's. Told my teachers not to call my mom for anything unrelated to grades. Told my little lie every single day with a straight face. In 14 days, I'll walk out of this house and never look back. And they won't see it coming. The hardest part hasn't been the lying. I got used to that years ago. It's the waiting. The slow, dragging crawl of each day, pretending I still care, pretending I'm still invested in this family dynamic, pretending I don't hear my mother when she whispers Ava's name with love and mine with impatience. Every day I wake up before the sun rises. I make Ava's breakfast. I dress her. I help her brush her teeth. My mom's still in bed when I leave. She trusts me now. Thinks I've matured. Thinks I've accepted my role. She even told me last week that she's proud of how much I've sacrificed. She doesn't know that every step I take outside this house brings me closer to leaving it forever. At Tessa's house, I'm already storing boxes, textbooks, clothes, some old photos of me and my dad, back when I still smiled in pictures. Her parents even gave me a drawer in their guest room. Sometimes I sit in there after school, trying to imagine what it'll feel like to finally be free. My dad's friend, Greg, is helping too. He keeps my laptop, my college supplies, even a new phone my dad bought for me, one that's not connected to my mother's family plan. Every morning, I stop by Greg's house to change clothes, check my email, or just breathe for 5 minutes without Ava crying in the background. And then I go to school and play the role again. The quiet daughter. The responsible older sister. The one who always says, I'm fine, when teachers ask how I'm doing. But inside, I'm screaming. Because there's no room for me in that house. There hasn't been since Ava was born. I remember the first time I realized it, when I was 10 and came home with a fever. My mom told me to tough it out because she didn't have time to take care of two sick kids. Ava had a runny nose. I had the flu. I lay on the couch all night, shivering and coughing into a blanket that smelled like sour milk. I remember thinking, this is what life is now. But not anymore. My dad says that once I turn 18, he can go to court and stop child support. He's counting the days too. He never complains about the money, but I see the frustration behind his eyes every time he hands over a check that won't even touch my life. You're not a burden, he told me once. You're the only good thing that came out of that marriage. Sometimes I cry when I think about that. Not because it's sad, but because it's the only time in years someone has told me I matter. So, we've made a pact. Once school ends, I'll stay at Greg's for a week. Just enough time to vanish without alerting my mom. Then, my dad will come pick me up. I'll transfer my phone to my new number, change all my passwords, and disappear from her life. No more waking up to the sound of Ava screaming. No more scraping burnt pasta off plates while my mom sits scrolling on her phone. No more being told that this is just life, and family comes first, as if I'm not family too. 14 days left. And then the world opens. The night before I left, it rained. One of those slow, gentle rains that taps the window like it's trying to remind you of something. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the half-packed backpack at my feet. My mom was in the living room watching TV. Ava was humming to herself in the bedroom we used to share. I'd already kissed her goodnight. I didn't feel guilty. I felt hollow, like I'd already stepped out of this life and was watching it from a distance. A museum exhibit titled The Forgotten Daughter. You walk through, shake your head, and move on. At 6:30 a.m., I left the house with nothing but my backpack and a note. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't need to. Greg was waiting in the driveway. No headlights. Just silence. I climbed into his car, and for the first time in years, no one was crying or screaming. It was quiet. Peaceful. The way mornings should be. He handed me a coffee and said, "Ready?" I nodded. At his house, my things were already packed into 2 storage boxes. We loaded them quickly, efficiently. His wife hugged me tight and said she was proud of me. I tried not to cry. I waited at their house until school let out. Then Tessa's parents came by and drove me to my dad. It was all smooth, rehearsed, like a heist, but for freedom. I didn't even check my phone. I didn't want to see if my mother had noticed yet. That night, I slept in a real bed. A clean room. My room. My dad had put up new curtains and fairy lights around the windows. There was a desk. A keyboard. A bookshelf with college prep books and old photos of us from when I was still small enough to fit on his lap. He sat on the edge of the bed and told me he was proud too. I should have fought harder, he whispered. I should have brought you home sooner. I shook my head. It doesn't matter now. But the truth is, it did. Every moment of my life until that point mattered. The neglect. The silence. The meals I skipped. The dreams I buried. They were all carved into my bones. But now I was free to grow something new. The next morning, I finally checked my phone. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts. Mom, where are you? Mom, what the hell is this? Mom, you think you can just leave? Mom, how dare you do this to your sister? I blocked her. I blocked Ava's phone too. She hadn't messaged, of course. She couldn't. But I couldn't take the chance. My dad took me out for dinner that night, just the 2 of us. We laughed. He told me stories about his college days. I listened, wide-eyed, like a kid hearing bedtime stories for the first time. This is what being seen feels like. And for the first time in years, I wasn't invisible. Move-in day at college came faster than I expected. I'd counted the days obsessively at first, but now it felt like they'd evaporated. Like all that pain, all those wasted years were dissolving in the rearview mirror. My dad drove me to campus. The whole trunk was filled with things Greg and Tessa's families had helped me collect: dorm supplies, notebooks, a brand new comforter. Things that were just mine. Not handed down. Not taken away. It felt like starting a life instead of surviving one. As we pulled into the campus lot, I saw other students with their families. Some were taking pictures. Some were hugging. Some were crying. I felt a twist in my stomach for a moment. Not grief, not regret, just the ghost of something I never had. But then my dad wrapped an arm around my shoulder and said, "Let's get you settled, kiddo." My room was small, but it was mine. 2 beds, 2 desks, white walls that were begging for memories to be made. My roommate hadn't arrived yet, and I took that as a sign. I got to be the first person to shape this space. No one else's needs to tend to. No wheelchairs to push. No silence to sit in. I hung up a photo of me and my dad from the beach trip he'd planned, our first real vacation together. It was just us, standing on a rocky overlook, his hand on my shoulder, the wind wild in our hair. When we finished unpacking, my dad stood by the door, keys in hand, eyes damp. "You don't owe anyone anything," he said softly. "Not me, not her, not the past. This is your life now. Make it whatever you want." "I know," I said. "Thank you for giving it back to me." We hugged for a long time. Then he left, and I didn't cry. I sat on my bed, looking out the window, breathing in the quiet. The air didn't smell like antiseptic wipes or formula. It didn't carry the weight of someone else's need. It was mine. Later that night, I got a message from an unknown number. "You left us with nothing. I hope you're happy, Mom." I didn't respond. I didn't flinch. I blocked the number and deleted the message. She was right about one thing. I was happy. Or at least, I was getting there. For the first time, the road ahead wasn't just a tunnel, it was open sky. College didn't just mean education. It meant freedom. It meant peace. It meant becoming a person who didn't have to be anyone's caretaker, scapegoat, or second choice. I had lived in the shadows of someone else's consequences for too long. Now, I was stepping into the sun, and I wasn't looking back.